She loved me, but married my best friend. They say some stories are never really over. They just end in silence. Mine ended the day I stood in a church, clapping for the bride as she kissed the man who used to be my brother in all but blood, and smiled, and died a little inside. I met Lily during a summer that felt like it might never end. We were 18. The world hadn't gotten heavy yet. There were bonfires on beaches, midnight bike rides, music from car radios, and that certain kind of laughter you only have when you still believe in forever. Lily arrived late in the season. She'd moved in with her aunt, Danny's mom, after her own mother passed. Word was, her father wasn't around much. She didn't talk about it, but you could feel the weight behind her smile, like sunlight through fog. She didn't try to be seen. She didn't need to. She had a quiet magic, the kind that slipped under your skin without warning. The first time I saw her, she was sitting on the edge of Danny's porch, legs dangling, writing something in a notebook. Her hair was tied up in a loose knot. Her flip-flops lay abandoned in the grass. "New girl?" I asked Danny. "Yeah. My cousin." "Go easy." I didn't go easy. I fell hard. We became friends slowly. Not the loud kind. No fireworks, no flirty games. Just hours that blurred together. Walks through the woods. Sitting by the lake, passing a sketchpad back and forth. We didn't need to fill the silence. She liked poetry, the kind with ache in it. Once, she read me a line from Mary Oliver. I still remember it. "You do not have to be good. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves." She looked up at me, waiting. I didn't say anything. Just stared at her like she was the only thing that had ever made sense. And maybe she was. My best friend Marcus was the opposite of Lily. Loud. Magnetic. The kind of person who made crowds laugh, who filled silence like he was afraid of it. But he was my brother. Since 3rd grade. The kind of friend who would fight beside you, bail you out of trouble, lie for you, bleed for you. We were a unit, me, him, Danny, and eventually Lily. We had our places. The bridge outside town, the roof of the diner, the skate park at dusk. We called ourselves the Last Summer Kids. We thought we were invincible. One night, I drove Lily home after everyone else left the bonfire early. We sat in my car for a while, not talking. I remember her looking at me with those wide, aching eyes. "I wish things didn't have to change," she said. "They don't," I replied. But they already were. The night before I left for college, I found her on that same porch, alone. I handed her a letter I'd written, but didn't have the nerve to say out loud. She held it in both hands like it might burn her. "Should I read it now?" she whispered. "No." "Later." I started to leave, but she grabbed my sleeve. "Leo," she said. That's all. Just my name. Like it meant more in her mouth than anywhere else in the world. And then she kissed me. Soft. Scared. Real. "I'm gonna miss you," she said. "You don't have to." But I knew she would. And I knew she wouldn't wait. College pulled me into a new orbit. Distance is cruel. It dulls the edges. Makes old memories feel like dreams. We texted less. Called once a month, maybe. Meanwhile, Marcus stayed close. Physically and otherwise. He started visiting Lily. Checking in on her. She said it was sweet. I told myself I wasn't jealous. That I had no right to be. But every time she posted a picture with him, his arms slung casually around her shoulders, something hollowed out inside me. I called her once in the middle of the night. Drunk. Stupid. "Lily, do you still think about that night?" She was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes," she said. And then, "But it's different now, Leo." The text came months later. Marcus. Hey, man. Just wanted you to hear it from me first. Lily and I, it kind of just happened. Hope you're okay. I stared at it until the words blurred. I didn't respond. What could I say? Congratulations on the girl I never had the guts to claim. Cheers to the one I watched slip through my fingers? I said nothing. And when they made it official, relationship status updated, photos captioned with inside jokes I no longer understood, I deleted their names from my phone. Not because I hated them, but because I hated myself. A year later, Marcus called me out of the blue. Gotta ask Lily to marry me, he said. Wanted to tell you first. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because if I didn't, I would have screamed. Do what you gotta do, man. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I lied. You'll be my best man, right? I froze. I should have said no. Should have hung up. Should have told him what it felt like to drown silently while the world cheered for the ones who pushed you under. But I said yes. Because some part of me still wanted to be the good guy, even if it broke me. The wedding was in late September. Golden hour sun. White roses. Her in a lace dress that looked like it was stitched for moonlight. I stood beside Marcus at the altar, watching her walk down the aisle. And I swear, for a fraction of a second, her eyes met mine. And held. Long enough for a memory to pass between us. The porch. The letter. The kiss. Then she looked away. And took his hand. And I lost her all over again. After the ceremony, she found me. We stood by the lake, just like the old days. You look good in a suit, she said. You look like you're glowing. She smiled, then looked down. I hope you're happy, I said. She didn't answer for a long time. Finally, do you think we would have made it? Yeah, I whispered. I do. She blinked fast. I loved you, you know. I know. I still. She didn't finish. And I didn't ask her to. Instead, I touched her hand once. Just once. And let it go. Be happy, Lily. She turned. Walked back toward the lights and music. And I stood in the dark. Alone. But honest. Some grief doesn't cry. It lingers. It sits in your chest like fog and weighs down the edges of joy. It follows you into rooms, into conversations, into birthdays and weddings and Tuesdays that should have meant nothing. That's what the years after Lily's wedding felt like. Like I was living in parentheses. I didn't go back home for a while after the wedding. Too many memories in the sidewalks. Too many ghosts at the gas station. Even driving past the lake felt like holding my breath underwater. Marcus called sometimes. He tried to keep things the same. Casual texts, dumb memes, the occasional, "Miss you, man." I never replied. Not because I hated him, but because I didn't know how to be his friend without reopening the wound. And Lily? She didn't reach out. I think we both knew that if she did, I wouldn't survive it. I moved to a city 3 hours away. Took a job at a graphic design studio. Started drinking black coffee and lying about being over it. I went on dates. Laughed at the right jokes. Slept beside women who wore different perfumes, but never made me feel anything real. They'd ask about my past, and I'd dodge it like a bullet. I became good at surviving, but not good at living. Then came the night I saw her again. 2 years after the wedding. I was back in town for Danny's engagement party. I promised myself I'd only stay for an hour. The moment I walked into the hall, I felt it. Like a temperature drop in the soul. She was there. Hair shorter now. Simpler dress. Same eyes. She didn't see me at first. She was talking to someone's kid, kneeling in front of them, laughing at something they'd said. And for a moment, I let myself believe she looked happy. Marcus wasn't with her. I asked Danny about it, trying to sound indifferent. "They're going through a rough patch," she said. "Marcus is. Marcus. You know how he can be." I nodded. I knew. And then, as if summoned, Lily looked up and saw me. She blinked like she didn't believe it. Then she smiled. Not the smile of a lover. Not even of a friend. Just recognition. Like seeing a dream you once had walk into a crowded room. We talked. Quietly. Off to the side. "How long has it been?" she asked. 2 years, give or take. You look different. Older? Quieter." We stood in silence for a bit, sipping cheap punch like it was wine. "I didn't think you'd come," she said. "I almost didn't. Why did you?" I looked at her. At the way she still tilted her head when she asked a question. At the scar on her chin from the time she fell off her bike that summer. "I don't know," I said. "Maybe I wanted to see if you were real." That night, I drove home with the windows down. No music. Just wind. My hands were shaking. Not from seeing her, but from how easy it had been to fall back into old rhythms. Grief is tricky that way. It lets you think you've moved on. Then it opens a door, and there it is, sitting cross-legged on your old couch, asking if you've missed it. Over the next few months, I saw Lily more. Always in public. Always innocent. A coffee shop run-in. A bookstore talk. Once, at the dog park even though neither of us owned a dog. We talked about small things, books, weather, work. But in the silences, the unsaid pressed in. She never mentioned Marcus. I never asked. But her eyes were tired in a way they hadn't been before. Then one day, she asked if I wanted to go for a walk. No crowds. No excuses. Just the two of us, back on the trail by the lake. The sky was gray, and the water looked like melted pewter. We didn't say much until we reached the old spot, the place where she once kissed me goodbye. "I used to come here after fights with him," she said. "Just to sit." I looked at her. "Why are you telling me this?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned to face me. Her face bare. Unreadable. "Did you mean it?" she asked. "That night, when you said we could still be something?" I felt my chest tighten. "I meant every word." She nodded. Bit her lip. "Do you still?" Silence. Wind in the trees. My voice barely rose above it. "I don't know." It wasn't a lie. I didn't know what I felt. Anger? Longing? Regret? Love? All of them. None of them. Something else entirely. Something only broken things know. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, thinking of alternate timelines. What if I had told her sooner? What if I had stayed? What if Marcus hadn't fallen for her? What if she hadn't said yes? But none of those questions changed where we were. Two people, scarred by decisions they couldn't undo. Weeks passed. We kept in touch. She told me they were in therapy. That she didn't know what she wanted anymore. That she felt like a guest in her own marriage. I listened. But I didn't interfere. Because no matter how much I still wanted her, I wasn't going to be the reason she left him. That wasn't love. That was possession. And I had loved her too much for that. The last time I saw her before it all ended, we sat in my apartment. She didn't say why she came. We drank tea. Watched the rain streak the window. Then she said something I'll never forget. "I think I got married because I was afraid to be alone. And I think I stayed married because I was afraid to hurt you." My heart cracked all over again. "Why me?" "Because you never fought for me," she whispered. "You loved me like a secret. Marcus loved me like a storm. I didn't know which one I needed. So I picked the loud one." She stood to leave. I didn't stop her, because for the first time in years, I realized I didn't want to be her backup plan. I wanted to be chosen, not remembered. 2 months later, I heard from Danny. They filed for divorce. Marcus moved out of state. Lily was staying with her aunt. No one said it, but they all waited to see if I'd go back to her. I didn't. Not because I didn't love her, but because I needed to love myself more. I spent the year rebuilding. Not a house. Not a career. Me. The boy who once hesitated. The man who carried silence like armor. The version of myself who wanted more than being loved halfway. Love doesn't always return the way you want it to. Sometimes, it knocks on your door, and you don't open it. Not because you don't care, but because you finally learned how to breathe on your own. They say time heals all wounds. I think that's only half true. Time teaches you how to live with the scar. A year passed after Lily and Marcus's divorce. A year of long walks alone. Of learning how to sit with silence, not just endure it. Of unlearning the way I used to define myself through the people I lost. I didn't see Lily. Not in person. But I saw signs of her. A new poem posted under a pseudonym she used in college. Her handwriting on the notice board at the library downtown. A dried flower pressed into the sidewalk outside the bakery she loved. And sometimes, I thought I saw her in passing. The flash of auburn hair. A familiar laugh. A coat I swear I once pulled over her shoulders in the rain. But each time, it wasn't her. Just echoes. One morning, nearly 18 months after the last time we spoke, I got a letter. Real paper. Stamped. Folded in 3. No return address. Just my name. Leo. The handwriting stopped my breath. I didn't open it for 3 days. I kept it on my nightstand. Stared at it like it might vanish if I blinked too long. I was afraid of what it might say. And maybe more afraid of what it wouldn't. When I finally opened it, my hands were shaking. Dear Leo, I don't know if you want to hear from me. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. But something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. I think I loved you before I understood what love was. Back when it was safe to love someone in glances, and late-night laughter, and poems we never finished reading. I chose Marcus because I thought love needed to be loud to be real. I thought pain meant passion. I confused being wanted with being seen. But you saw me. You always did. Even when I didn't know how to be anything but broken. I'm not writing to ask for anything. I don't expect forgiveness, or a second chance, or even a reply. I just needed you to know. If I could go back, I would have said yes to the boy who waited. To the man who stood quietly by the lake and meant every word he never said. You were never too late. I was just too scared. Be well. Live full. And know you were deeply, quietly, truly loved. Always. Lily. I read it 3 times. Then I cried. Not because I wanted her back, but because some letters feel like closure pressed between paper and ink. A goodbye that finally tells the truth. I never wrote back. Maybe I should have. But part of healing is learning which chapters to keep reading, and which to place gently on the shelf. Years passed. I moved again. Not to run away. Just forward. I started painting. Not professionally, not well. But honestly, there was something about color that helped me say what I never found words for. I made real friends. I laughed without guilt. I stopped checking her social media. Stopped wondering if she thought of me when it rained. And then, one spring afternoon, I met someone. Her name was Clara. She didn't remind me of Lily. Not even a little. She was her own sunrise. She asked me once if I'd ever been in love. I told her yes. And when she asked if I still was, I said no. Not because the love wasn't real, but because I had finally let it go. The last time I saw Lily was by accident, 3 years after her letter. I was visiting my hometown, walking through the Sunday market. I was holding Clara's hand. And there she was. Hair shorter. Softer smile. A child tugging on her arm. Her sister's, maybe. Or her own. We locked eyes. She smiled. So did I. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. In that moment, I knew she was okay. And I was too. Some loves aren't meant to be forever. Some are meant to teach you. To wound you. To awaken you. To prepare you. Lily was my almost. My ache. My lesson. But not my ending. When I got engaged to Clara, I wrote a letter I never sent. Dear Lily, thank you. For breaking my heart so completely, I had to rebuild it better. Stronger. Braver. For teaching me that love is not about being chosen once, but being chosen every day. I hope you found someone who chooses you. And I hope somewhere you smile knowing that I did too. I folded it, sealed it, and burned it in the fireplace. Some stories don't need new chapters. They just need a proper ending. The end.